said we want to attack Israel.
Look, Jeff, I'm going to open up a thing called a book, and I'm going to read, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to make an informed statement afterwards. Because what you just said...
What Jeff is saying is that, it's obviously the Palestinians' fault. If they hadn't elected Hamas was just prone to terror. These people that are being occupied, that are living in squalor, they just didn't bootstrap themselves. They didn't do enough. These people that are under what is considered by international law an illegal occupation and an act of aggression, and they're considered legally as prisoners of war. These people, who are virtual slaves, did not do enough inner self-work, and that's why they're in the position that they're in. That's why Israel has a right to ethnically cleanse and genocide them. That's why they're being slaughtered by the tens of thousands right now, because they should have worked on themselves. It's really their fault, when you think about it, so that's cool.
That is not even true according to Israel.
My point is that it's not even true according to all... Just let it play.
The officials themselves who were operating at the time that you're speaking on. It's not even true according to the U.S. government that Hamas chose terror. According to the head of Israel's version of the CIA, the Mossad, the head of the Mossad, Ephraim Levi, observed in 2008, quote, "They, Hamas, are ready and willing to see the establishment of a Palestinian state in the temporary borders of 1967. They know that the moment a Palestinian state is established with their cooperation, they will have to adopt a path that could lead them far from their original ideological goals." That is the head of the Mossad speaking in 2008, literally the Israeli government's CIA. A 2009 study by a U.S. government agency called the United States Institute of Peace Special Report, literally a Washington, D.C. think tank, concluded that Hamas had been, quote, carefully and consciously adjusting its political program for years and had sent repeated signals that it is ready to begin a process of coexisting with Israel. Just a few months before Operation Cast Lead, which was a devastating, high-tech, murderous bombing campaign implemented by Israel in the Gaza Strip, also an illegal war crime, Khalid Mashal, the head of Hamas's Politburo.
You're sort of like saying blissful peace. Like, you're trying to be diplomatic about this, but you're literally just defending a genocide. You're defending an apartheid state, It's like saying, I believe that the Nazis have a right to exist. I'm sorry. I think that Germany, under Nazi rule, has a right to do the things that it's doing. I'm sorry, but they just have a right to do that. You are a deeply unserious person. You're defending an apartheid, You're defending the apartheid policies of an ethno-state, committing war crimes, human rights abuses, and violations. What is considered to be the supreme criminal act in all the land, the act of aggression. So there is no, again, blissful peace. You're saying the Nakba was bad. I was disagreeing with your definition of Israel as a settlement. Well, you're going to have to take that up with international law. You're going to have to take that up with the United Nations, the International Court of Justice. You'll have to take that up with the actual founders of Zionism. You'll have to take that up with the Israeli government officials themselves. You'll have to take it up with entities like the Jewish Colonization Association, the JCA, which was pivotal in settling the land of Palestine for the Zionists. You'll have to take that up with all sorts of people like Lord Balfour. You'll have to take that up with the wartime hawkish cabinet of Lloyd David George, the British Prime Minister who oversaw the implementation of the Zionist project in the land of Palestine. You'll have to take that up with Theodor Herzl, literally the founder of Zionism, who crucially and presciently laid out the policies of the Zionist project and admitted in writing that the Zionist movement was a settler colonial project. You'll have to take that up with Vladimir Jabotinsky, another Zionist leader who acknowledged that Zionism is a colonization adventure. That is a virtual quote. You'll have to take that up with David Ben-Gurion, literally the founder of Israel. Okay, the first prime minister of Israel. Someone who, if there was no David Ben-Gurion, maybe there would be no state of Israel. That's how crucial he was. When he says that they are stealing the land of the Palestinians, he openly admits this, and I've gone over it extensively in my videos. I wish that you would go take a look at these videos and learn, okay? You want to see the video itself? David Ben-Gurion himself.
Zionism most definitely is the belief that all Palestinians should die, and you guys prove this day in and day out.
I really hope you go watch it so you can learn.
Noticing about this crowd is they have to play on people's ignorance. In the video, she doesn't show you the definition of Zionism. She just lies directly to your face and tells you it is something that it's not.
Oh no, please tell me that Jeff Mead is not going to do a quick Google search of the definition of Zionism.
So this is in response to this guy saying that I disagree that Israel is classified as a settlement, even though by all accounts, that's what it is.
And call it a day.
Her and many others like her know people won't actually go look up the information. They'll just blindly believe her. So then she can get away with it. Let's actually look up the definition of Zionism. Originally the reestablishment and now the development and the protection of a Jewish nation in what is now Israel. That's it.
No, that
So
wasn't
let's see
it.
what else she had
Why
to
did you
say.
stop? You didn't say
Right
the whole.
before she talks about
Why didn't you read the rest of the definition? It very clearly says it was established as a political organization in 1897 under Theodore Herzl and was led by Chaim Weizmann. This is the extent of Jeff's research. He types a word into Google and clicks the first link and calls it a day. World's most average liberal try not to avoid the material reality and give attention to the actual policies on the ground, which is what international law calls for. Challenge impossible. Jeff, this is going to sound absolutely wild to you, I know, but for real research, we have things called books. Books. In books, you can learn, and you can learn context, and you can find quotes written by the actual leaders of the Zionist movement who were referenced in the definition that you just read. The leader of the Zionist movement, Theodore Herzl, for example, wrote in his diary in 1895, "We must expropriate the private property. Both the process of expropriation and the removal of the poor must be carried out discreetly and circumspectly." This is the material policies of the Zionist movement as elucidated by the leader and founder of the Zionist movement, Theodore Herzl, in 1895, in no uncertain terms, describing what amounts to a human rights violation and a war crime. Here's another early Zionist leader, Vladimir Jabotinsky, who said,
Okay, well, here's the thing. You're saying you're condemning the savagery by both the IDF and Palestine. Okay, well, here's the thing you don't understand is that under international law, violence committed by the oppressed is a protected human right, and violence by the oppressor is not, okay? You have two social groups in question, and this is the part that you need to get over this hump, okay? You have to just, it sucks, but you just have to realize that the violence of the oppressed is qualitatively different than the violence of the oppressor. Any reprisals under international law, now don't make this about me, because it's not about me, and it's not about any of these handles that you're talking to right now in the chat. It's not about any of the chatters. We are talking about international law. We were talking about the standards and principles expressed in the UN Charter in accordance with the Geneva Conventions of 1949, which prosecuted the Holocaust. These are all standards set in post-World War II. This is what we have all signed on to. And in accordance with international law, reprisals born against the occupying force are the fault of the occupier under international law, okay? So if you don't like that, you should go take it up with the UN. Plead your case to the UN, I implore you. Go to the International Court of Justice. Talk about it with them. Reprisals born against an occupying force are the fault of the occupier. Under international law, Israel has no right to claim self-defense in occupied territories. That's just an incontrovertible, uncontroversial fact. If Israel wishes to claim self-defense against quote-unquote Hamas rockets, then it will cease its occupation, which is a violation and an act of aggression in accordance with international law. Once they vacate the occupied territories and lift the imposing harsh siege and blockade of the Gaza Strip, as well as the West Bank, then at that moment, if reprisals continue, then legally, Israel might in fact have a case to make in invoking its right to self-defense, but not while it's occupying territory, okay? There is no justification for Israel, and if you want to cry about the civilian life that has been lost on October 7th, then you focus your ire, your frustration, your anger, and your critique against the Israeli government, which perpetuates this, okay? You want to feign like history started on October 7th when we know that back in May of 23, the UN was making reports about how this would be the deadliest year for Palestinians in recent modern history. Because up until that point, something like 110 civilians were murdered by the IDF. And by the time October 6th, okay, the eve of October 7th, the IDF had murdered 240 Palestinians, 40 of which were children. But do you hear that? So it's okay for the Palestinians to quietly suffer, okay, is what you're saying. But when the corporate media apparatus, when they pipe up about violence, it's always going to be the violence that is done to Israel, to paint the picture in your head, to induce your consent to these murderous, genocidal impulses of the Israeli government, which has always articulated that their grand strategy was to ethnically cleanse the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, to create the state of Greater Israel. So making this about me or one of the other chatters in here is not an argument, okay? Because we have the historical record on our side, we have the facts, we have the primary source evidence. So if you don't like what's happening, I implore you, you can do a quick Google search and type in UN Resolution 242 and give that a perusal at your leisure so that you can read what is the actual international community saying about this conflict. And oh, by the way, they said it well before you were born. It's almost as if there's a mountain of literature and evidence, primary source documents in the historical record, which has gone over this extensively. It is not as if this is a mystery. This is all out in the open. Everyone knows what is going on, so you can pull your head out of your ass any day now. 7 months into a genocide, stop defending Israel. Liberals try not to both sides a genocide challenge impossible. I mean, you might as well just say that, this is what's so crazy, is if you take any other, liberals will always oppose every genocide except for the present one. Every genocide past, future, except for the present one, okay? Because they have no problem acknowledging that the Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto, no liberals are saying, well, I condemn the Jews in the Warsaw Ghetto for using indiscriminate violence against their Nazi oppressors. I mean, clearly that was wrong. No, you don't hear that because people understand 80 years later that there is no justification for violence committed by the Nazis, and there is justification for violence committed by the Jews who were facing annihilation. It's the same thing of saying, like, well, there's slaves and there's slave masters. I mean, that is literally what the power differential is, okay? Slaves and slave masters. Yes, it's an analogy. It's not perfect, but if it was perfect, it would cease to be an analogy. It's an analogy. Condemning slaves and slave masters for violence just means you are a deeply unserious person, that you don't understand that there are qualitative differences between the motivations and the morals of the oppressed people using violence compared with the oppressors using violence. Okay, they're done for completely different reasons, and I don't know what you expect Palestinians to do. You just expected the Jews to just march into the crematoria? Said, yep, okay, sure thing, boss. Let's go. Let's get on with it. But violence on either side will just lead to more violence. See, you're literally, you have the smoothest of brains. None of this is wrinkling your brain right now. You're just doubling down. You're a double down clown. You would rather there be no October 7th, and you would just rather the Palestinians just quietly go away. Have them starve to death. As long as it's out of sight, out of mind, I don't have to hear about it. Because up until October 7th, 2023, you didn't have an opinion about this. That's right. Violence is what got more awareness. Exactly. It's like saying that we shouldn't have fought the Nazis because that's just going to lead to more violence. Let's let them keep ethnically cleansing and genociding the Jews. What's the big deal? If we try to fight against the Nazis, well, there's just going to be more violence, and all violence is bad, and so we're bad. We're just like Nazis, basically. Tell me that you don't understand geopolitics without telling me. I mean, you're absolutely a deeply, deeply unserious person. Because all violence is bad. No, all violence is not bad. Not even fucking Gandhi would agree with you, and he's a fucking pacifist. I'm not defending Gandhi, okay? I'm just saying. Not even the global institutions, which deal with this directly and have dealt with it for decades, agree with what you're saying. Anyway, I think this person is blissfully ignorant. Could use a healthy dose of my TikTok page. What do you think? The Oslo Accords would have been ideal, right? Yeah. The Oslo Accords, which never actually acknowledged the Palestinians or the Palestinian state. Right. This is exactly what I'm saying. It's like, you're not serious. You have no idea. Like, literally, according to Israeli government officials themselves, the Oslo Accords were a farce. Were literally designed to establish control over the Gaza Strip and the West Bank without actually having to put military boots on the ground. Exactly. It dissolved the apartheid. Like, how is there no apartheid in South Africa right now? Okay. How would you like to see this end? What's your big idea for the Look, I'm for your side. That's somebody that's not on your side. Okay. They have not fully, I mean, it seems so elemental, but it escapes them. It's like, how do you not read? How do you not understand, essentially, that the solution to this problem is to give people their human rights? You have, like I say, I mean, I know this sounds wild, but Israel should just stop committing a genocide. Israel should stop its illegal blockade. This is what's so crazy. Like, what's your big solution? Oh, I don't know. Israel could follow international law. Israel could be not in violation of international law. Israel could follow the resolutions and accord by them. UN Resolution 242, I said, go look it up. Nothing's changed since you started this conversation. You're only doubling down on your big L, all right? Israeli oppression. Like, what are you talking about? You're an absolute buffoon. Israeli oppression in the middle of them. It's like, the Nazis are being oppressed. I mean, make it make sense, folks. The slave masters, we need to hear them out too, okay? Stop oppressing the slave masters. You have been summarily refuted.
okay? Now you're getting it. Israeli oppression of the Palestinians should, in fact, stop. And once that stops, then we can talk about, the right to defend oneself. Remember, under international law, the supreme criminal act of aggression carries with it, now I'm quoting, okay? Stick with me. I'm virtually quoting verbatim the Geneva Conventions of 1949. The supreme criminal act in all of the land is the act of aggression, which carries with it the accumulated evil of the whole. Okay, so consider World War II. The criminal act of aggression was committed by the Nazis. Everyone agrees. When the Nazis invaded Poland on September 1st, 1939, when they annexed parts of Austria, okay? These were all acts of aggression, which carry with it the accumulated evil. What does that mean? That means all the reprisals that came against Nazi Germany were also the fault of Nazi Germany. That's how the act of aggression works. Now, applied to Israel, the international community agrees that ever since 1967, Israel is also guilty of its criminal act of aggression in many facets of ways, mind you, as expressed in UN General Assembly Resolution 3314 from 1974, which outlines, establishes, defines, and really was passed because of Israel's actions. They felt the need that they needed to pass another resolution which went over, just again, the definition of aggression, and they gave 7 different instances of aggression. And every single instance of aggression condemned by the International Court of Justice, Israel is guilty of. Ever since 1967, they have been an illegitimate, in the eyes of the international community at least formally. Now, I would argue well before then, since it's creation. But international community standards, the international consensus in the world today is that ever since 1967, it has been in violation of international law. Okay, for some of the worst shit that a country can do. How do you defend that? How are you both siding this unilateral domination and coercion instigated by Israel over the Palestinian people? How are you also blaming the victims in 2024? Like, are you that spineless, or are you that misinformed? Have you not risen or graduated from the cognitive level of sense perceptions and impressions about your world that you have not figured this out yet? Once that stops, only will Hamas go. Again, you just have no understanding. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're saying once the slaves stop revolting, then the slavery will end. Show me one precedent in the historical record. Show me one example. Otherwise, you're making, your vibes-based analysis. You're in your feelings. You have no idea what you're talking about, okay? Zero understanding. You can't even find me an example in the historical record where what you're saying is actually proven to be true. And also TLDR, by the way, it's just too much. Like, you lost me. Once that stops, I read the first 7 words. I don't need to see anymore, okay? Because you still just don't understand fundamentally what's happening, okay? No investigation, no right to speak, okay? I'm sure you're a scholar of international law. I'm sure you pored over all the documents relevant to this case. You are a baby brain. You came to the right place, okay? Because these are the words that you need to hear, so you can develop a few more wrinkles in your brain, so you can develop that frontal lobe, because that's not fully, it's like a fucking canoe right there. It's like a canoe and then it dips up, and you obviously have enough to motor skills to type out words and use a phone. So that's, kudos to you for that, for sure.